quickly that happened after all the rain we at least thought we got in June and then rain. A ton of rain.
No cyanobacteria. I mean, I looked down in the cove and I looked, because you could,
End of the first week of July, maybe. Yeah, it's just, that's a long time. Oh, yeah.
nothing's washing
Yeah.
out.
Glad I'm not farming.
We have leeches in the worst time ever. If it's not your dog.
But the one is, you guys sense the economic impact. It's interesting.
I mean, they're a sign of actual clean water, but.
There now.
Good evening. It's 6 o'clock. And I'd like to call this meeting of the Enfield Select Board to order, July 21st, 2025. Oh, wait a minute. I'm looking at some notes here, so.
August 18th.
August 18th, 2025.
Yeah.
And the first item on the agenda, the police promotions. Chief?
May I ask that everybody state their name before they speak, because we have a recording secretary online.
Okay, Chief Roy Holland. Obviously, over the last couple of years, we've made some changes in the PD. We moved into a new public safety building and added some roles and stuff like that. And so we have a couple promotions I'd like to do tonight. So the first promotion I'd like to do is ask Cortland Smith to come on up. So Cortland's been with the department for 10 years. He's been a vital part of the growth of our department over the years. He's recently, for the last 3 years, been a corporal, which is an entry-level supervisor position. He's excelled at that. He helped implement Lieutenant Fry's new program for mentoring and I guess mentoring is the best word I can use, new officers and patrol officers and improving what we do. He's also a figure that a lot of the younger officers like to reach out to and talk to and ask for advice based off his experience and stuff like that. And it's obvious just from his interactions within the community and in the PD that Cortland has completely bought into and pushes out our belief in community policing, and which is what we want here in Enfield. So I'm proud today to promote Cortland to sergeant. Here's your stripes, and then asked his parents, Chris and Russ, to step up here. Russ is a retired chief of police from Grantham. And I know that they're a vital part of what helps Cortland be such a good police officer for the town of Enfield. So I want to give them the honor of pinning their son with his starting place.
And this is, we did put it on his chest and.
Yeah, we're not in the military. We're not there.
Yeah, don't do looks.
Which ones?
Oh, it's.
Bless you.
How did this meeting get over? I'm scared.
We're enjoying ourselves.
You haven't gotten stabbed.
Thank you.
Second was Luke Fry. Luke has been with the department for over 17 years. I remember when, Luke came on the department and he was one of my first, trainees that I got to train from a brand new. I remember Luke is a young, shy kid who also graduated from the local school. And he is, turned out to be a great officer for the town of Enfield. Again, completely believes in the community policing, which is, vital, I believe, to our department currently. He got his education, he got a degree in criminal justice, and then he got his master's degree in public administration. And he didn't do that so that he could move on and go to some bigger, better department. He did that to help educate himself so he could be better for the town of Enfield. Right, which I think stands, alone, just that alone stands to his dedication, commitment to the town. So over the last 2 years ago, when Ed, let me know that I would be, carrying a bunch of the load of helping with the public safety building, designing, implementing, moving into it, I went to Luke and said, all right, a bunch of the stuff, I'm gonna take some administrative stuff and I'm gonna put it on your desk. And he's done a great job with that. The last couple of years, he started working with the CIP committee, started doing those administrative roles. And so today, I'm happy to promote, Lieutenant Fry to deputy chief. He will be the first deputy chief in the history of the town of Enfield. He had to come up and pin Cortland's, Luke's other star on.
You can put these anyway. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First off, as many of you know, we talked about it at the last meeting. It's kind of a promotion, but kind of not a promotion, but we did officially move Chief Owens to the Public Safety Director and Police Chief. He's been doing a great job already, but I think you'll really see over the next few months, things start to meld and come together in those departments. And then I also wanted to just let everybody know and embarrass the chief, that today is the chief's birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. And thank you to the officers, the entire force. It's a wonderful thing to have people so dedicated to the community working in this town. Thank you.
We're very lucky.
Next up is the approval of the minutes of July 21st, 2025.
I just had a question. And it may just be me not remembering. Page 4. Page 4 of the packet, I'm sorry. It's the second page of the minutes. Line 95, it says land use, and then there's a star, an ampersand, and an I. I was like, uh-oh.
Which line?
Line 95. Sorry, and my name's Kate Plumley Stewart. I'm gonna take her. That I forgot already. Didn't take me long.
I would think those could be deleted.
Okay.
So-
Okay, that's fine. I was like, maybe it was something long, there was a longer title, but I was like, I think it's not. That's it.
Any other comments or corrections on the minutes?
No.
I'll make a motion to approve as amended.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Do we have to say our names? Yes, right?
No,
No?
we're all
Okay,
here.
We're all here.
Select board members.
okay.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. Thank you very much. Next up, we have board reports. We start with you?
Sure. The Enfield Village Association has welcomed 2 new board members this summer, so they're excited to have expanded support in that way. And as people have seen, Scarecrows 2025 is underway. And they are currently taking collections of empty and clean water and milk jugs outside the Enfield Village Association office to help build the heads of scarecrows that may have become injured. So that collection box is going to be out there for a while. And then as far as the Heritage Commission, they did not meet this month due to illnesses, but we are gratefully going to be reviewing the recommendations for RSA 79D this evening, I believe. And that is all.
Thank you.
I was unable to attend the last planning board meeting, so I have nothing to report.
And as the alternate select board representative to the planning board, I did attend. It was very interesting. There were a couple of conceptuals, and there was a hearing, but the most interesting aspect of the meeting was a long discussion of zoning updates. And particularly on home businesses in a residential district. And there was not much agreement on that topic, and everyone's gonna go think about it more and contemplate. And I pushed as hard as I could to keep it simple conceptually and keep it simple linguistically. But I look forward to visiting the planning board once again. That's it for me.
The Energy Committee did not meet in July due to vacations. We'll meet again after this meeting this week. So I don't have anything new to report.
Conservation Commission moved to the day I said I couldn't do, so I was not there. My understanding is they came to some kind of conclusion that they want to bring to the select board about class 6 roads, despite the fact that we have told them multiple times that class 6 roads is not necessarily within their purview. They are going to make some advice to us and ask us to do some things. I will leave it up to them since I was not present and probably would not have supported such a thing.
Hey, town managers report.
All right, well, I'll start off a little bit out of order that I was normally gonna do, but I did wanna take a minute to introduce, Kristen Patino. Hopefully I said that right, and I can let her speak for herself a little bit, but she's our new minute taker. She is, attending online. She'll be taking the minutes from a remote location and many times from the recording. And Kristen's a professional minute taker. She takes minutes for 11 different towns across New Hampshire and Massachusetts.
Wow.
She does some minutes for Lebanon over here. And so we'll be working with her. She's attending Teams tonight to start to put voices to people so she can understand and to let you have a little bit of time to meet her. So I didn't know if you wanted to say anything, Kristen, but I'll give you a minute.
Hi, everyone. It's very nice to meet you. I'm coming to you from Amherst, New Hampshire. And yeah, I've been taking minutes for various boards and commissions for about 7 or 8 years now, and just sort of have expanded my work to various towns, which has been a wonderful way to learn about how different municipalities work, especially the differences between Massachusetts and New Hampshire. So thank you all for having me, and it's great to meet you all.
Great.
Thank you.
So with that, I'll move on with my staff report. We usually do anyway, just so you guys know, in case we have a recording issue or something. Elisa takes very abbreviated minutes, mostly motions, those things. So if something does happen, we can still get some minutes out, but it's been working very successfully, the recording most of the time. we've moved in this direction. On the police department for staffing update, our police department has received a verbal commitment from a certified full-time police officer. So we'll be working with them over the next month or so to get things lined out and bring them on. So we're happy to move in that direction. It looks like we're gonna be able to finally fill that position that we've had vacant for a little while. Deputy clerk, we've hired Valerie Hill. You may have seen her in the office. She started as the new deputy clerk on the 4th of August. And so she's been spending some time learning her way around the clerk's office, and we have some state training and stuff for her to do over the next month before she can work on her own. So we'll be continuing to train her and move that forward. Though we filled the light equipment operator position that was open, we have had another light equipment operator resign. Wes Allen resigned to return to his former employer who made him an offer that he could not refuse. So we have reposted the light equipment operator position, and they're still looking for someone. If anybody knows somebody that would like to drive a snowplow and work as a light equipment operator, we'd love to talk to them. Budget and finance update. I don't have any really big updates from last month. Our expenditures and revenues are still tracking in a good position. Looking at the reports this month compared to last month, nothing really seemed to change. We are working as we're entering budget season, so we're continuing to watch spending and track state revenue. The state revenues are always tough because they come in late in the year, but we're looking at tracking them. They're a big portion of our revenue. Overall, collections in the town's clerk office has been well. We're like 99% on tax collection, utility collection. So things are going well in that area. Reconciliation, you have a report in your packet, but it continues to move forward. We've reconciled most everything on spreadsheets, and we've started the process of updating the reconciliation in the computer programs. Whitney Hall Public Safety Building. Whitney Hall grand opening is this Saturday, August 23rd from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. The plan is to have a brief ceremony at 11 o'clock. Trying to go out of order, but
Oh, I think Vinny has mic is on.
No, it was
It was
the
Dave.
joining.
So, I will be asking for at least somebody from the select board to report or talk at that ceremony, but it doesn't have to be just one. I think we can all take a little bit of time, or however many of you would like to speak. We can say a little bit something about the process and the rebuilding of Whitney Hall. I've also invited the trustees to speak there. We'll do a short ribbon cutting, and then we'll open the building for people to look around and see the building. We'll have some refreshments upstairs, and we've been working on a PowerPoint to play in the new meeting room upstairs. That'll just cycle showing some of the before and after pictures and some of the construction process. So if you guys can think of something else you'd like us to plan and get ready for, we can do that, but that's kind of the plan for this weekend.
I don't think I'm going to make it. I'm Kate Plumley Stewart. That's right in the middle of the market. So. 11 is, I might show up later.
Could you repeat the date and the time?
This Saturday, August 23rd from 11 to 2.
I know, I didn't realize when,
I thought I was bad.
no, I mean, I didn't, it's one of those, I think we talked about dates and this was not one of those, definitely not one I could do.
And then for the public safety building, all departments are in and responding from the new public safety building. We're currently settling in and finishing some small punch items. We will be coming to the select board with a date in September or October for a grand opening for that building.
Are we out of the ambulance building and the former fire station?
I'll update that, but no. That's the short answer.
That's an update.
We're continuing to do that, and I'll get to it.
Okay,
It's on here.
sorry. Can't read your mind.
audit RFP. We released our audit RFP that was due. We sent it directly to 5 New Hampshire audit firms and 2 in Vermont. We had no responses for that RFP. So I did reach out to our auditors, but haven't heard back yet why they didn't respond. But I'll continue working on that and get back to the select board with an update. But we will find somebody, but I'm trying to figure out why, whether it was bad timing, something in the RFP that people didn't like, whatever it was. So we'll look into that. Public safety buildings. This is the Depot Street, Union Street buildings. I've been asked to give an update. So even though fire and ambulance are responding out of the new public safety building, they still have equipment and some supplies in the other 2 buildings. That they're still going through to determine if they need them or not. We will be getting rid of quite a bit of equipment, I believe, that has not been used for a while. We expect within a month or so that the buildings will be ready for the select board to move forward with the sale of these 2 buildings. We should set a date for the public hearing to finalize plans to sell those 2 buildings, but I do recommend maybe the first or second meeting in October, so we can send the possible sale of these buildings through the appropriate committees prior to that hearing.
We didn't do that already?
No. We said we needed to have a public hearing, but we didn't actually have it.
Okay,
Yeah, that's right.
okay.
And I couldn't remember if we sent it through all the other committees or not, so I just put it in and we'll find out which ones, if all of them have heard it or not heard it, and we'll get it through them. Crystal Lake Watershed, last meeting, I told you that the funds may have been on hold. Since then, I've received word that we scored well in the grant pre-application and will be funded for the 2025 grant season. So I wrote that weird. So really what happened is the 2026 funds are the funds that are on hold, and the 25 funds were available, and that was the grant that we applied for. We've applied well. I haven't got formal notice that we've gotten those, but we did rank high enough, scored high enough to fall within the money that's going to be funded. So we're looking forward to getting that information and moving forward with that grant process. Kind of the same thing. I've heard through the grapevine that the Route 4A trail project that we decided to put in for this year on the TAP grant, that we have scored high enough to get funding on that this year. So that's something that we'll have to figure out through the budgeting and the CIP process of how we're going to fund the match for that as it comes forward. I do think we'll have a couple of years to work through that grant as it comes forward, because we're going to need some final engineering and permitting and things to happen. So,
Who's that grant from?
it's from the federal government through the state, but it's funds that have been awarded, and looks like we're gonna be getting those. That was the one, I think it's 1.9 million in total, and we have about a $300,000 match.
They increased the amount. But that's still.
The feds increased the amount.
Because of the, the longer you go on construction, more it costs. So my understanding is the feds increased the amount. So when they increase the amount, it's over 2 million now. And that increases the amount we have to chip in.
We'll see what it is. And then there's also, that grant does allow for in-kind donations. So there's some different things that I've already been strategizing to take the out-of-pocket expense away as much as possible. So we'll see what the actual, like I said, we haven't gotten any formal grant approvals or subrecipient grant agreements from that, but when we get those, we'll know the exact figures that we're working with to move through the budgeting process. But still, it's $300,000, which is a lot of money to find, but for a $2 million project, it's a pretty good thing for the town of Enfield.
And this includes the sidewalk area and the parking from Main Street and then
Parking
wraps
along
all
Main
the way
Street.
up
And
to
then
Shaker.
it's pretty much the parking along Main Street and then the trail along 4A.
Okay. And that lovely crosswalk.
And the two
Crosswalk, that's right, it's 2.
one at Shakoma Beach, one down closer to the Shaker Museum, wherever we final finalize putting that, so. In the land use department, the zoning board of adjustment, they approved the new business proposal on the Mickey site for Bark and Bevy, who's looking for the dog themed restaurant and indoor dog park. There were some special exemptions granted to include no overnight boarding and no outdoor dog activities in the area, but the zoning approval was given, so that'll be moving forward. The planning board, the first hearing for the Laramie Farms major site plan review application is scheduled for Wednesday, August 27th at 6:30 PM. So this is known as a design review, and we expect it to draw a crowd. Planning board, they're also at the August 27th, they're gonna hear an application for a minor subdivision. And then on September 10th, they've received an application for a major subdivision on Bog Road. Nicole Site has requested approval for the creation of 9 lots at the former Crate gravel pit. This is not the gravel pit that was in question last year, but another area along Bog Road. But we expect that one to bring some people in as well. Economic development, the Carpenter's Cup Coffee Shop has opened on Main Street and early reviews are good from the public so far. So we ask people to go down and support our local businesses, stop into the coffee shop and see how it is. And then just remind everybody the brewery's open now as well on a regular basis from Wednesday to Sunday. And then Dan can speak about it a little more if you'd like to, but we've received an update on the Crystal Lake boat ramp. Dan had the opportunity to speak with Garrett from New Hampshire Fish and Game, and he shared that the state's busy with engineering work permitting and an ultimate plan to fix the boat ramp more than just filling in the hole, but adding to the construction, adding some concrete there, making it a lot better boat ramp than it is now. That's still continuing to move forward, and I'll follow Dan in saying if anybody's listening out there, please don't go try to fix it on your own because it'll slow things down and could be substantial fines if Fish and Game and DES get involved. So from the Public Safety Department, the Citizens Academy continues to move forward. We have our 4th class for the Citizens Academy this upcoming week. This week's class will cover police, fire, and ambulance operations, and the class will look at what it takes to be a first responder in the town of Enfield and the equipment that we have. Police, fire, and EMS will be participating in the 8th annual Walk with a Cop. This is a very popular first day of school event. They'll be meeting at the community building area and walking local children and some of their parents to school. The police department just completed the process of bringing on a new part-time officer. John Little is a retired police officer from New York with 23 years of experience. He moved to the area last year and will be working with the Enfield Police Department on a part-time basis. We welcome him to the police department. The police department also hosted a TASER instructor training at the new public safety facility this month. Officers from all over New England and even one as far away from Texas participated in the 2-day training. Many of the officers had positive comments on the new facility. It's good to start using that and bringing people into Enfield for training.
Make them jealous.
The police department's paying special attention to parking on Main Street. The officers have been increasing what they're watching and doing in that area and other town parking areas. Education's the first focus for first-time offenders. The police department has also started the process for identifying where new signs will be needed to be replaced or placed. And then we'll be working with DPW, EVA, and Recreation on the parking project that we're moving forward. One thing we did want to talk to the board about, and we can either decide if we want to make this a agenda item for bigger discussion or just move forward, but we've had a discussion and we'd like to look at the idea of doing a 3-hour parking along Main Street and in the rail trail parking across from that by the businesses, just to kind of keep some turnover moving in the area. So I guess let me know if you guys think that should be an agenda item. If not, we'll put it as part of our sign package moving forward. See how it goes.
Do you want an answer now?
If you want to give me an
I think it should be an agenda item.
Yeah, I mostly want to know how you're actually gonna track it.
Makes sense, agenda.
Yeah.
Do,
I'm not opposed, I think it's merits discussion.
Okay.
I think it does.
Will do. And then DPW, I sent you guys an email, but last week we held a final vote to determine whether our DPW would form a union. The vote passed and we will be working on the next step to formalize collective bargaining agreement. I will soon work with the select board to put together a negotiation team when the time arises. These things kind of move probably at the union space at this point, but you know, we had to go through the whole process with the ERLB up until now. Other DPW updates, roadside mowing is nearing completion. Jim and Jeremy have been working with several staff to determine who our next grader operator will be. So we'll be working through those processes to see who's good at working on the grader. Steve, Jason, and Jim attended the annual Granite State Rural Water Association Field Day and training last week. And then we've also worked with our engineers to look at several Enfield sites for the Mascoma watershed project for potential runoff mitigation and treatment. So we'll continue looking at ways to stop runoff from going into our lakes from our roads and other sources. And that's my town manager report. The one thing that I did want to talk to the board about a little bit is that CIP will be starting, I think the 25th, a little bit later this month. And then we have our first budget committee meeting on the 28th of this month. And I don't know if I have it in here somewhere or not, but it would be nice. I want to get consensus from the board to see if that's a night that we could do the select board budget committee meeting. I guess it is in the report under the budget item area, but you know, talking with Dimitri, we could do one of the first 2 meetings, but he would like it early in the process if we were going to meet again.
In terms of the negotiation team, I read your email and I agree that we should have a board member on for the first one. I feel pretty strongly that we should have a board member on in subsequent years until we establish some kind of cadence. The school district has the superintendent, the business manager, and a member of the board. And I think we're so small, we don't have as much depth in our office. It's not a like to you guys, but you don't have a finance team of like 10 people looking everything over. Same thing with negotiations, rather than, I know a labor negotiations lawyer will be involved at some point to look at it. I'm assuming our or a member of their firm, but I think having a third person there to hear and be a member of the team. I'm not saying we have to do it forever, but I'd love to talk about the future of it and being really fair to our employees, because I think this came from somewhere. I think DPW has some really hard feelings, and their feelings of mistrust, and just making sure they know that they've been heard. Maybe the outcome wouldn't have been different, but I think the budget committee did the best they could during the year. And I think we went into it for the right reason, to try to give some savings and some balance, but the outcome for employees of the health insurance change was profound. And I don't think it can be understated, and going into negotiation where some of them don't feel they were heard is pretty important to have maybe someone sitting at the table they haven't sat with before to listen to them. Because I think, maybe for me, who changes insurance relatively regularly, I'm used to jumping through the hoops, but for somebody who is, I'm gonna pick on the grader, since we're talking, we don't have a grader operator currently, makes an easy one, right? If you're driving the grader, you can't be on the phone with the insurance company, you really shouldn't be, right? And you can spend 2, 3, 4 hours getting approval, so I think just taking some of those pieces of feedback and some of the feelings that led them to form a union, I'm a very pro-union person. I don't think this will change our outcome necessarily, but making sure they feel heard and feel comfortable is a top priority for me.
Other comments from the board?
I agree with Kate.
It is something that struck me that I thought that that should be a member of the board for a period of years until we felt comfortable.
Yeah, I'm very strongly in favor of that. And I think, you know, if there's a board member whom people trust and sort of respect, I think that smooths some things over.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else from you, Ed?
Nope, that's our report.
Okay.
But can I just ask a question? Are you asking us to hold Thursday, August 28th for the select board?
Yeah, we can talk it a
That
little
later.
bit more in the budget area
Okay.
here, but if it's something that we can, I mean, if the board can make it that night, then I think that would be the best night to do that.
Okay.
Day of the week is that?
It's a Thursday.
Thursday,
Next Thursday.
it's 7:00.
Yeah.
Is it like a long meeting?
The first one has not in the past been a very long meeting.
I would say probably about an hour.
Yeah, we reaffirm who the chair will be. And if he's listening, he has no choice. And then we move forward from there.
Yeah, I'll look at what we're gonna do exactly on the meeting.
Yeah.
Normally, we reviewed some of the budget, but it might just be reaffirm the board, have some budget priority talks, those types of things, and actually move the review to the next.
The other thing may be, there is an RSA that actually requires a copy of the current budget to be at that meeting. Because of SB 2, you have to have a copy of the current budget at the first meeting.
Do that, we normally do.
And we normally do.
Yeah.
Next up, under business, first item is Board of Health Annual Review and Building Inspector Update. Vinnie will provide the select board with an update.
All
right.
right. I'm Benny Tercy.
Hi.
Hi. So with the health officer, the Board of Health, this past year we've had 10 health officer related cases open. With 3 of them are still open that I'm currently working. It's been a pretty quiet year as compared to last year, which is very good. With the cyanobacteria watch, only one was issued this summer, which is down from last summer, where we had a couple of situations, which is also a great news. We did send out the letters for the septic ordinance, and we are receiving pretty positive feedback. A lot of good compliance. So far, 75 to 80 residents already sent in their documentation, which is great. I do still get a lot of questions from residents, and they prefer to come to me, so I'm having to call them, email them, in-person meetings, and that takes up a good chunk of time. But I have an open door policy where if there's any questions on anything, I will be able to help in the best way I can. I also assisted Canaan with a couple of foster care inspections earlier this year. And they just hired a new health inspector, who's their new building inspector. And he has me on a consult with a daycare center that they're putting in Canaan. So we have a pretty good working relationship. He's brand new to the field, and I've been doing it for a couple years now. So, and I attend monthly webinars and meetings with the DHHS, the Department of Health and Human Services. And that goes along very well. Now on the building inspection side, right now we're at 120 building permits to date, which is up from last year, which is great news and shows this town is moving in a great direction. Some notable permits are we have 10 commercial, which are 4 cell tower upgrades on the 3 towers in town. We have an upcoming renovation to the Copeland block. And we had 2 renovations for the 2 new businesses, the Carpenter's Cup and Optimistic. And those businesses are doing pretty well now. The residential permits, we have 13 deck upgrades and room additions. That seems to be the trend for the last few months. We have some home additions, 4 ADUs coming, 8 solar installs, and we have 8 new housing units, 6 apartments and ADUs, and 2 new homes. And with the new housing, there are 4 mobile home swaps, which are you have an old trailer and you got to bring a new one in. That does require 2 inspections at minimum. One for looking at the slab that the new home goes on, and the last one is when everything's hooked up for a final occupancy. With decks, I require at least 2 inspections for those. Footings and framing are the two main parts of it. And with decks in particular, I suggest if anybody has any questions, absolutely reach out to me, because that's one of my most important items is whenever somebody does a deck, which is mostly done by homeowner, and if it's not done correctly, you can pay dearly for it, and I want to make sure everything's done safely. And with new homes, they require at least 7 inspections each. So it's the footings, the concrete slab, framing, rough electrical, rough plumbing, rough mechanical, and a final for occupancy. And with the rough plumbing, I have to be on site for 15 minutes, roughly, for a pressure test to witness that being completed to make sure everything is working correctly with the supply and sewer lines. We still have 3 homes under construction, 3 to 4 homes under construction with permits issued previously. So there's still some new builds coming in, but they're not moving as quickly. When apartments or ADUs are added to an existing building, I require 5 inspections, which is, the framing, rough electrical, rough plumbing, rough mechanical, and the final. If it was a detached unit or ADU, it's the same inspections for a new house. Solar installs, which we've had quite a few, those are 2 inspections each, one for a trench and one for a final to make sure everything is working and a rapid shutdown is tested. And with the standard electrical, plumbing, mechanical permits, those are only 1 or 2 inspections. Now, the number of inspections I'm listing are the required minimums, but like I stated earlier, if there are any questions, I don't have a problem coming out to look at something real quick. And it's not really an official inspection, but I do offer my service if it's needed. In between time, I attend monthly meetings with the New Hampshire Building Officials Association, and I'm also taking a couple classes concurrently for additional certifications with the state. So, yeah, that's all I have.
I
And in
can
your
say,
spare time?
I can say over the last year, we've also used him a lot with our two new buildings, not only for inspections, but a lot of, hey, come give us your opinion on this, or we had a couple places where the code didn't really match what the building was trying to do, especially with the renovation part of Whitney Hall, and we were able to work with Vinny to work through some things. I can show you some if you want to see them, but there were a couple places where the stair rail's supposed to come out 12 inches, and if we did, it was like really protruding into the entryway by the library was one of them. So Vinny helped us work, Phil helped too, come up with some design where we had a safe minimum of handrail that's supposed to be there without the big protrusion that would have came if we strictly went by the way the code was written. So I have heard a lot of feedback on people enjoying working with Vinny and having the same types of things in houses. When the code just didn't really make sense, Vinny seems to do a really good job of looking at what the intent of the code is and how can we get there the best way possible with our residents and make things, I mean, the end goal is to make sure that the buildings are safe and built properly. And if we could do that some way, he's been really good at working with residents to get there. Any questions?
Vinny, you said you sent out, letters to anyone that you felt that was within the high water mark of our water bodies that are under the sewer ordinance. How many letters did you send out? Do you know?
Exactly, I don't remember, but it's over 400.
I was looking for a percentage. So you've received about 75 or
Oh.
80 responses to the 400?
Well, I'm coming across that a portion of those were also sent to property owners that had land and with nothing on it, or they're technically not within the 250, but they were on the list. So there are a few that went out when they shouldn't have. So when
Right.
realistically, it's more like maybe it's realistically under 400. I don't have an exact number.
So is it fair to say, though, that the response of 75 out of 400, even if it's less than that, do you think that's adequate to the task to have everyone give you some sort of an answer within the 1 year time frame that was written in the ordinance?
That's tricky because I'm also learning that there's only a handful of inspectors and companies that are willing to work around. And I know Dan Reagan was able to get or was part of getting an inspector that will work a deal with residents on Crystal Lake. And that's two people that are doing those inspections. These inspections take about 3 hours a piece. And there's just so much to it.
I can jump in, Vinny. I can say a lot of people that I know, I can't give a number, have had the inspections done, but they're way behind on reports because there were so many of them to do. So I am one myself. I've had the inspection done. I've talked to Vinny, but I haven't actually turned any paperwork in yet because I don't have the report to do that. As we're getting closer to the end of the year, I'm sure people will get concerned if they don't have the report, and we can work with them on getting the receipts from payment for the inspection, those types of things that show that it was done.
Yeah, I think as we get towards the end of the year, we're out of the construction season at that point, if you will. So we're obviously not going to improve or correct any situations. We need to know where we stand in terms of all the people that are, that fall under the ordinance.
No, we'll continue working with that and we'll make sure that everybody gets it done if they fall into next year.
We just need to know where we stand, and for those people that are We need to know the reasons why they are either unable or unwilling to cooperate with the ordinance. Another question, if I could, for Vinnie. You mentioned some solar installs.
Mhm.
And you had a number of those, I guess, which is great. Do you familiarize those folks with the tax abatement that they're eligible for?
That is beyond my scope.
It is.
I leave that up to the solar company because they would know more details about that than I would.
Okay, so you don't mention them. As a representative of the town, however, it would not be unfair for you to mention that there is a tax abatement from the town. We do not tax solar installations, but they have to come to the select board to get that. So as a representative of the town, it is fair for you to say, in the town of Enfield, strictly an Enfield thing, we do not tax solar installations if they ask. That's all.
No, I appreciate that. I was not aware of the town doing that. Where I was an inspector prior, they taxed everything, so I wasn't aware of that.
Right. All they have to do is go to the assessor, get an application. It lands on our desk. We're going to look favorably at almost all installations. And they will then, that investment will not become part of their tax base.
Vinnie, may I ask a question? You mentioned that you've had 10 health cases open. Could you characterize in a totally anonymous fashion, what kind of health cases?
Mostly trash and housing complaints. Yeah, that's really it.
Housing complaints from the renter, from the owner? Where do the
From the
complaints come?
renter.
From the renter.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Other questions from the board?
Yeah, a few.
I just had one more if I could, and then I'll hand it over. We had talked, it could be as long as a year ago, about the possibility of once a building application was written, it would be posted somewhere. Is that something which can still happen?
Yeah, we're working on, I'm gonna be talking about it. We have upgraded our GIS system
Yeah,
to be able to post permits and those types of things on there.
it would go on their property description anyway, a permit.
Yeah, it would be the same place you can find property cards, those types of things. We can now post any PDF that we do there. So it's
So
something.
we would just need something that would indicate where to look if people were interested in looking, whether it's a star or a flag of some kind that indicates.
Well, we wouldn't really do that, and it's not a list for people to go look at every building permit that's been done, but it's more, you notice your neighbor doing work, you can pop on and look and see if there's a permit. If not, you can call them in.
Well, we talked about, and I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but we talked about posting building permits and who's applied and gotten a building permit.
Well, we talked about it in the fashion that Ed's saying, of just using the GIS
Yeah.
infrastructure we already have to potentially include those documents, similar to how you can find the deeds
Yeah,
with
Yeah.
each property.
And
okay.
that's much more effective than posting a piece of paper somewhere.
No, I wasn't looking for a
It's
piece of paper.
Totally easy to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is that.
Well, and
It
it's
is
a
that.
good record there for historical purposes too. So you buy a piece of property and you go, I'll use me as an example. When was the roof last replaced? You look, oh, there's a building permit for 10 years ago,
Right.
maybe.
Yeah.
So it's an easy point for
Good.
there. So it's something
Okay.
we're gonna be working on over the next year or so. They start getting those put up, and
Good.
we probably won't go too back in the past, but
No,
you know, if we happen to dig up something that we go, oh, that would be nice to put on there, we can always scan it and put it on. So,
fair enough.
When we are posting those, if we could make sure that they are readable, like they're not upside down, they're not
Mm.
sideways, because right now using the GIS frequently within the same document, they are different, which makes it so you turn it and turn it again. And if you're using it, it's a little bit challenging. I just think as a professional body of work, we should, because since we're adding to it, I'd like to see it just, someone may not realize like, oh, hey, I scanned it through the scanner and it's doing one page this way, one page this way. I'm sure they didn't do it on purpose. I have just general list of questions for Vinny.
All right, go.
Vinny, I'm curious about how many letters did we send out total? I know we've gotten about 75 to 80 responses, but I don't have any sense of how many properties are around our
You
major.
said just
You said-
over 400,
Just over 400, I'm sorry, okay.
and then some of those have come back as not
Yeah.
not being within the 250 or not having a septic system in.
Okay, and then, do you have any sense that, the number of requests to have calls, meetings, and in person is largely due to the newness of the policy, or is it something else?
I think it's the newness. Once that
Okay.
wears off, I think once people get used to what we're looking for, it'll be smooth sailing.
Yeah, because I think, there was concerns up front, that we did discuss, not about you, but just in general about how workloads are placed on people due to policy. So, and then, do you have any sense of how many repairs or replacements were done so far because of findings? Like, I assume
Um,
there's permits required, like, I believe my septic person did my permit for me.
The,
That's
the
what I paid for.
septic permits are through the state.
Okay, and you don't get a copy, or do you?
Oh, I do.
No.
I do.
Oh,
Um,
okay,
There are a
That's
few
fine.
systems going in just because they haven't
Mhm.
been tested, but they're just going in.
okay.
In terms of actual failures, um, I've only heard of maybe two, and they've already got the ball rolling, got the design, and moving in that step.
That's really helpful because, one of the things when you go into something new is like, are we gonna find something catastrophic or are we gonna find just a few here and there? So
Mhm.
I appreciate that information. And then my last question for you is, are any of the ADU applications for that second ADU, because Enfield obviously is the first town in New Hampshire to offer that, take advantage of the new lot offer, and I was curious if anyone was taking advantage of being able to have a second ADU yet.
I believe these are all one ADU, so it's the primary structure and one ADU.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
You're welcome.
Questions? All righty. Next up, proposal for the sale of a fire tanker.
Thank you, Vinny.
Yeah, thank you very
Thank you,
much,
Vinny,
Vinny.
appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Great evening.
Pete, I'll let you take this.
Okay. Bill Neely, Enfield Fire Chief. Couple things I didn't get to Ed, and I apologize for his manager's list, but just as some updates for the board as well, if I could. The new Cascade air machine is in the building. Hopefully, they're coming next week to hitch that up, so that will be operational. Dan was asking about that with the CIP. The new pumper tanker is probably gonna be about November, and that's basically due to supply chain issues with them getting parts. Fire truck manufacturers do not start putting together a truck until they have every bolt, every nut, every wire to put that truck on the line and complete it. Because they don't want partial trucks sitting in their
Yeah.
yard. Oh, where did we leave off? So it's a start to finish. So I've encouraged them that we need that by November so that we're in this year with all the finances and so forth. And the last, just as far as updates, our new membership, we've had about a total of 5 people that have shown interest. We have 3 that are in the pipeline right now. New to the department completely. So not the folks that are on the ambulance that are also becoming fire or the PD becoming fire. These are new folks. And 2 out of the 5 have mentioned, hey, I just live up the road and I saw the new station and what would you think about, me becoming a firefighter? So, I do think the new public safety building will continue to be a great drawing card. The current tanker will be, or requesting to be sold once the new pumper tanker is delivered. We have received interest from a fire chief in Kentucky who was on the Enfield Fire Department. Gary Conrad. Their department has made an offer, as in the letter, I believe Ed included in your packets. They've made an offer of 15,000. I think that's a very fair number, looking at what people don't want to give anybody for a trade-in. And the number of fire trucks that are out there for sale at this point is astronomical. I've gone on to a number of sites and including Facebook Marketplace, and there are literally hundreds. So with that said, it would be my recommendation. I think this can help them out tremendously. Most of their trucks are in the 80s. And it is a, if you will, a farming community in Kentucky. They still have a lot of folks that drive standard, are used to driving the standard. Gary has been up visiting and has visited the truck and gone through it himself prior to making this offer and suggestion. There's also a list from the Kentucky Fire Commission who actually funds it, what they need to have filled out. But looking at that and what a New Hampshire state inspection is that we would need to do in September anyways for this truck, I don't see anything on what the commission is asking for that is out of range with what a typical New Hampshire inspection would require, and that we would be fixing something for ourselves if there was a problem anyways. So, I don't think there's anything that's above and beyond and, would come back to haunt us, if you will.
I think it's also important to put out there that DeSorzi, who we bought our fire truck through, we talked to them about a trade-in or taking it to sell it. They were not interested at all. And we've talked with Dingy before he passed away, and he kind of shared the same sentiment that the truck really didn't have a lot of value with the amount of apparatus out there and the fact that it was a standard transmission.
Dan, do you recall what, did we plug anything into CIP?
I think it was probably 10,000.
You think it was about 10?
10,000 Phillips.
Yeah.
I think this is a marvelous arrangement. I assume he'd come up and get it, or we don't have to drive to Kentucky, do we?
We do not. No, we do not. They come and get it. And, I like also that we're gonna be able to, if the board agrees, to be able to advertise that we're working with another fire department with folks that have been in town, and, it makes a relationship.
Yeah, I think it's,
Yeah.
it's a good deal all around. as far as I'm
Enfield is very fortunate in the facilities that we have and in the equipment that we have, and believe me, there are some fire departments out there, not necessarily this, but there's some in Vermont that still have dirt floors.
Yeah.
So there's some departments that need help, and I think this could be good for both.
My question, so because this is such a large surplus item, like we usually surplus cruisers and we have to put it out there, we put it out through a competitive process. Does this manner of sale comply with state law and town policy? I mean, our practice in the past has been able to do much more open.
Yeah, there is no state law
Okay,
on this, but I mean, it would really be up to the board whether they wanna
I mean,
look for an open policy.
I think we've done our due diligence by going to other manufacturers and so forth and getting
Yeah.
their feeling.
back to Dingy.
And
Yeah.
if there's not a line at the door that is saying, hey, don't move that truck until you talk to us.
so I looked online as well.
Yeah.
So the automatic transmissions are the only ones that are going to get money that are in that time period. And every other one is down, and I think 15. I mean, I'm not an expert, but I felt like based on what I saw for sale online, that 15 wasn't unreasonable. I just want to make sure that we set the past practice of, doing a very open process, and inviting bids. And this isn't like when we thought we were gonna get some bids for a farmer in a field. To one of our old tankers, I think.
Well, and some of the other stuff went out to, in the past have gone on to Gov Deals.
Yeah.
Not even,
Yeah.
I mean, if you will, that's an auction.
Yeah. And there are fees in the auction. I think this I don't know. I don't think the fees are helpful to anybody in this case, but
So a vote from this board would be significant, be satisfactory, would authorize the sale and you could move forward with the paperwork.
Someone care to make a motion?
I move that we formally request
Oh,
approval.
you have a question?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I might have missed this, but what's your feeling on passing this inspection?
Feeling on passing the inspection, I think it's very optimistic. I mean, all of our vehicles are inspected yearly. I see no reason for it not to. I mean, there are 3 pages, so it was a little inundating to begin with when I was looking at it,
It's probably because the first
You
time.
know, all the way through, but each one of these parts is really included in each group, if you will,
Okay.
for a state inspection.
Any other questions? A motion.
I move we, approve the sale of the 1998 fire tanker currently in our possession to the Grab Volunteer Fire Department in Greensburg, Kentucky for the amount of $15,000.
I'll second that for discussion.
All approving, say aye.
Can I just ask a question before we,
The-
I want to make sure, do we have to surplus it or is that enough to surplus it?
That's
That's enough. Okay, that's all I wanted.
And I think in the motion, it ought to be after delivery of our new pumper tanker.
Comma, after delivery of our new tanker expected sometime in November.
I
Just
will,
so that we're
yeah,
covered.
absolutely. I will renew my second. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and it is
Good
unanimous.
job.
Thank you very much.
For doing that, Bill. Good work as always.
Okay. Next. We have Comcast Cable Franchise Agreement.
I had one question, dumb
Which we do
question
not
to
have
ask, if
to
you'll
do that.
forgive me before we get into the contract itself.
Sure.
Do we need a contract? Do we have to have one with them?
We should.
Well, why? Why? What do we gain out of signing their contract?
But we get a little bit. It's just a franchise agreement allowing them to operate in town.
I understand, which they're gonna do anyway. So my question is, why do we do it? In other words, why do we have to sign a Comcast piece of paper?
There's a few things we get out of it that we won't get,
Okay,
like the fee and free cable for our public buildings.
okay. So without signing it, we may not get I know you've negotiated and now it'll get the community center as well, which is great. So you might, without signing it, we may not get that, is what you're suggesting?
Yeah, they would have no contract or obligation to.
To
get
do that?
Or continue that.
And they would have no obligation, and I know we haven't finalized the discussion of the franchise fee, but they'd have no obligation to even consider it without a contract. Okay, well, that answers my dumb question, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
So, any discussion of the franchise fee? The contract? Yes.
Actually, the other.
You have your hand
we
up?
asked for, they
No.
agreed.
No.
Yeah.
Anyone want to jump off the cliff and make a motion?
I don't know if do we need to decide about the franchise fee now? As part of this process, do you think?
Didn't we?
You
let-
guys kicked that down the road.
We kicked the can down the
I
road.
did not kick it down the road. I feel very strongly we should not have a franchise. Okay, I'm gonna
But
kick that off.
we kicked as a board, we kicked the decision down the road. We should make that decision now to go along with this
Good, you don't
contract.
Have to, but we need to by the public hearing.
Yeah,
Okay,
so we should make that decision now.
why would we?
Fair
do that?
enough.
Come prepared.
Okay. You've made a motion? Or going to make a motion?
Well, it's not a motion, but my opinion is that we keep the franchise fee.
Okay. Alice, your opinion?
You said you'd come prepared.
I know.
I'm pinning it on you.
The franchise fee is there no matter what.
No.
So
We caused the franchise fee.
We obligate them to collect it on our behalf.
And then do not use it to serve public access people.
So it's just free money for no reason.
It is
But
free
we're
money to the
assigning-
town for any purpose that we choose.
It's not free money. It's money paid by subscribers that is then passed through to the town.
It is,
Yeah.
And what do we use it for?
It is a
And if
perk.
we don't have the franchise fee, the subscribers do not have to pay that amount of money?
Right.
Correct.
It's
And,
not hidden somewhere else.
and, no,
it's on the bill.
and the town has to raise that revenue.
Somewhere else.
I mean, it's a
Well,
fee.
that's what I,
Well,
that was my
and-
problem last time. That's fine. I'm ready to say no franchise
Well,
fee if I can't.
the other piece is then the town has to raise that revenue somewhere else. So
Well, what
you,
are we
increase-
using the revenue for now?
right now,
It would be your decision.
that's
I mean,
more.
right now, it's going to do the communication so we can televise the meetings.
Right.
Right.
So right now it's going into the AV equipment needed to complete the construction at Whitney Hall.
Right, so we would have to raise an additional $50,000 in property taxes
Yes,
to cover the loss of revenue
yes.
from the franchise fee.
Because we have always
That was a very
traditionally
convincing
had money
number.
coming into the budget. In the past, the history has been that
Is that that? Okay.
$60,000 had been coming in, 30,000 was given to Channel 8 for broadcasting purposes,
Mhm.
and $30,000 was going into the general budget. The money, total money has decreased because as people have decreased their packages through Comcast, they actually pay a slightly smaller fee. So it's in the area of 40 to 50,000 now, maybe closer to 40.
Closer to that.
Yeah.
I think we're still a little.
So the thinking is, if it stayed, the $40,000 would need to be replaced in the general budget.
In the spirit of transparency.
What I
no
recommend, if you decide to keep it, you don't need to keep it, but if you do, I recommend that we allocate it for communications, transparency on different things to be able to better communicate our meetings and things to the public.
I agree.
So I guess
All
my
can't live forever.
points are, why should one franchise of users of a particular
Yeah, 'cause
service
then that's not.
pay to fund our communications, right? Like, I don't have Comcast, so I don't save $2 or whatever. Like, this doesn't do anything for me, but I think it's patently unfair. We're not doing it to every other service. You know, cable services are declining. I think it's irresponsible to rely on this as an ongoing revenue stream when we know more and more people are unplugging and going, to the internet, to using their phones. And I think I've never felt comfortable with it, and I've long been very vocal about that, but I just feel.
One comparable that I have decided in my mind is the registration of cars. People register their cars and the town makes $1 million per year in fees for people to register their cars. Now, not everybody has a car. Some people choose to have a car and they pay a registration fee. Some people choose to have no cars and they don't pay a registration fee. Some people have 1, 2, or 3 cars. So it's a fee paid by taxpayers that goes into the town budget.
In the case of cars, though, and I'll go back and finish my previous statement, in the case of cars, those people are driving on pavement that's very, very expensive. That is a very easy one-to-one correlation. This is not a one-to-one correlation. This is one subset of users is paying to subsidize part of our budget, even if we say we're using it for communications. I think it's really unfair, and we aren't doing this to every other operating company that comes into town. Like, are we gonna go to Hub 66 and do the same thing? I want you to think about that.
So Katie, why don't you make a
Oh,
motion
make a motion.
and make us vote on this?
All right, I will make a motion to approve the updated franchise agreement as included in our packet and amended to be a 5-year agreement. And further make a motion to set 0 franchise fees so that our folks, our users of Comcast do not have to pay a fee.
Just need a motion on the franchise fees.
Oh, you just need
We
one?
have to have a public hearing.
Okay, so I will make a motion that we do not charge franchise fees to Comcast
Is
users.
there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion as stated, please say aye.
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 And the other half of the vote? All those opposed?
Oh, I'm sorry. All those opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay. Vote is
Want it
3
for
to
the
2 in favor. Yes, excellent. Thank you. Well,
So the next step on the Comcast contract is that we need a public hearing?
Yeah, we should set a public hearing date. If we can do it at the next meeting, the contract's already dated appropriately, but
I would do that.
it'll have to be rewritten anyway, which will be easy. We'll just change the
And-
franchise fee.
Give me the quick rationale why we need a public hearing on that particular contract.
Yeah, 'cause we're supposed
It's a
to.
contract.
It's a contract.
Well, we don't do it on every contract, so we just do it on that one.
Yeah, we need to do one.
Okay?
It's a public utility.
Actually, it's a private enterprise. but
Wow,
that's
it
okay.
goes through. people. If you want to get in a spot with them.
okay. Well, that's as much excitement as I can take at one
Yeah,
time.
please.
Next up is 79D, Barn Preservation Tax Relief Draft Policy Review.
So that was, then this was going back to the Heritage Commission, but, we had sent it to them to do a little bit of work. They sent me a, memo back that's in your packet. And with that, it just kind of spawned me to play around with what a policy might look like. Went ahead and put this policy together, worked with Dan who brought this forward in the first place, just to kind of help look for some obvious things. So we made a few modifications, looked through some of the other towns that have this policy and just wanted to bring this in front of you to show you, start to look through it and see if there's something else that we would like to ask the Heritage Commission to look into, or if this is something we want to kind of work with to go to town meeting. I think at the last meeting, we did discuss, even though the select board has purview to this being tax abatement, that we would like to take this to the town meeting for the voters to decide. Just wanted to bring it back to get it in front of you. It's been quite a while since we discussed it and see if there's any more work that needs to be done before we move that way.
Did they not address 79F? Because we asked about D and F at the same time.
Haven't heard anything on F. I don't even know what else about it. I have to look it up.
Yeah, F has to do with tax exemptions for barns as well. And that's why I had asked about it at the same time, because it makes sense to do them both.
One small concern I had is the sentence that states the draft states that the structure must not be used for any non-agricultural commercial purpose. That's a pretty blanket statement, right?
In the memo, there's like clarification on it, that it's up for discussion.
Why am I not? What's the, what are we calling the memo? Is that your memo, Ed?
Well, that's my memo and that's the one from the Heritage.
This is what's being called a memo.
I'm referring to Ed's memo.
Okay, okay. I wasn't clear on what this
The
paper
ones
was
he's
being called.
talking about.
This is the one you're talking about? Okay, that's being called a memo. I was like, I don't have anything that says memo on it, so I'm very black and white.
I would say, I don't have a problem with the conversion of the barn to a more commercial, non-agricultural use. It's just they would lose the abatement.
Well,
I like the compromise outlined here of a reduced reduction.
I saw the reduced reduction,
Like,
but I'd rather just say you don't get the abatement, period.
No, it reminds me of sorry. It reminds me of the pilot program for the nonprofits in town. Like, for example, EVA. We have sort of not like a sliding scale, but like a different structure for taxation. Because it's a little bit outside of black and white.
Well, that's why it's pilot, but came in little taxes, but.
Mhm.
Okay,
It's just,
I
it's a
just-
consideration for a situation outside.
sure, I appreciate it. Yeah, no, I understand the sliding scale. I'm not sure I'm comfortable with it, I guess.
I don't think the use matters at all. The goal would be to preserve the structures, themselves, how they look, and how the individual property owner chose to use the property.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter to me, and I don't think it should matter from a tax standpoint.
So if they go through the process and let's say they do renovate an existing barn
yeah,
to the tune of a good deal of money, let us say, and they choose to use it for a commercial purpose,
if we're going to say.
they get to keep the abatement.
Yeah, if they say they're going to, if we're saying that the preservation of this structure is valuable enough to provide a tax abatement,
Mhm.
that's where the value judgment is. If the use of the building at that point is not something we're saying, we're valuing the preservation of that structure.
So
And the
Interesting.
structure couldn't be any different for the commercial use than it would have been for the agricultural use.
Correct, that's the
Unless there was
preservation.
a house
On the-
there.
on the outside. On the inside, it could be a restaurant.
Right,
Well, that's an interesting.
Well, there's one in Woodstock that did exactly that.
we
Yeah,
have one here.
all right.
I
And
think
we do have one here, you're right.
Yeah.
we had a couple things that we had specifically asked for, up front, and one was a set of data points and a table, explaining kind of how many barns in an inventory, what we think the chances, you know what I mean? Like, and so do we ever get that, or we just got this memo?
My understanding is that there was a barn inventory shared with Ed.
Yeah.
we've all looked up. So.
We got a copy.
We
didn't
got copies.
Electronically.
It was-
Did an analysis of it
Okay,
to
so
find out like which ones might be.
I thought we gave a
available.
pretty-
I thought that was outside of their scope.
I thought we gave a pretty specific charge, so I guess based on that, I'm not really comfortable with going forward if we gave a charge, what I understood to be a charge, so that we could be making these
Yeah,
decisions based on data.
I think if we go back in the meeting minutes, we would find that the inventory was given to Ed and that analysis is gonna be done by us, not by the Heritage Commission. That may
I
have been an oversight on my.
did not take on the analysis. That was the entire point of sending it to Heritage.
I just don't
Okay.
think that they have the capacity to do that. I don't
Okay.
think it's outside of their scope.
So we're just doing this and we have no idea what the tax impact may be. That's really where I'm going at it, because we're gonna go to town meeting and we're gonna say to people, this is what we have, but we don't have any data and we don't have any information for you. We have an old inventory, albeit an inventory. We don't have any confirmations. We don't have any idea what condition things are in or who might take advantage of it. Like we have even any speculation, like we just don't have any of that. We're just bringing this to you. The other piece is that one of the samples that was brought to us, I believe it was Plainfield, had a grading schedule. A very specific grading schedule, and you got points and that helped determine.
There's one in.
It's in
And that's in here, yeah. But I'm saying like there were specific things that we talked about, but this makes me nervous.
The tax question leads to another thing. Everyone aware that it includes the land that it sits on?
Mhm.
So it's not just the structure, it is the piece of property as well.
No, that's 79,
It's in D as well, it's mentioned in D.
but we have to adopt 79F for it to be included. That was why I'd asked.
No, D actually says the land's included too.
Okay.
So the thing is if I understand it correctly, it is not just the building itself. It is also the piece of land that it sits on.
Wouldn't that be a rather small amount?
It could be, but I think Kate's point is a good one.
But the 79F, I think, that's why I had asked that would be
Yeah.
considered at this. meeting.
And I think your
Very
point is a good one, that we need to know the bottom line. We need to know, I think we can adopt this and say this is acceptable, but we need to know the tax impact, to
I'm
be
worried.
fair.
I'm worried about going to town meeting where we have had so many expensive projects and saying to them, we think this has value. And we assigned it to Heritage Commission because we felt it had value as a form of exploration, but we don't really have any good data about what might happen. I think that's a serious concern. And, I think to be fiscally responsible, we have to have some idea of what the potential fiscal impact. It might, are we talking about $100,000 in taxes? Are we talking about, I have no idea, right? And I'm just throwing out randomized numbers because we don't have any of that information. So,
Well, this might be a good next step, because if we look at it, if you guys like the scoring system, that is something that would be needed to be able to figure out what kind of value we're looking at. At that point, you could go back and say, here's our barn inventory. These ones fall in a high view area that
Mhm.
puts them in this scoring category, and then we can start to put some monetary value to that.
Who would execute this matrix, this tax relief matrix? Is that our responsibility?
It would be our responsibility to finalize it. Yeah,
And who would make the decisions?
probably assessing.
Hmm,
And where did the tax matrix come from?
We used a few other towns and I made it up for the most part.
So, yeah, online, I saw things similar to it.
Yeah.
Okay,
So the first one I put out didn't have it and we talked back and forth about, coming up with a matrix. So it was a little more objective. It's still gonna be subjective to a
Sure.
point, but trying to narrow it down as much as possible so we can put things in their appropriate box.
in general, I like the idea. But there are some details that I think they need to be clarified. And Kate's is a very good one. We need to identify the tax impact.
so how old does a barn have to be?
75 years,
Not very old.
1950.
If we wait a few years, we'll have fewer of them.
There'll be fewer of us.
There might be more. There's 75 years of moving with you.
Maybe mine will join it. No, I mean, and I think the preservation component is worthwhile. It's just, I'm really nervous about the monetary aspect. We just considered possibly charging franchise fees, which I still argue are unfair. And then we're gonna go do basically a giveaway to a sunset of, we really have to think about the monetary aspect.
I think there's a budget impact that needs to be considered and identified.
Yeah.
I can agree with that.
And I would be comfortable taking it to the voters if we had that kind of, even estimates, like how many barns, like, are the barns on this inventory that we didn't do even there still, or have they been torn down? That's something that maybe the town manager's office might have to help with, like you might have to delegate it to someone. But in terms of things like that we ask, like, relative, like how many are actually viewable from the public way? Because there's a piece in here that is viewability, right? So if, like, say you have 100 and only 50 of them are viewable from the public way, that reduces your liability right up front. So just some basic pieces of data like that.
Yeah.
That are something a committee could do if they chose to undertake it. If they don't want to do that work, it's, I guess.
I don't think it's an assessor that's gonna be able to make decisions about what the high visibility or major public benefit is to this matrix. This is discretionary and needs to be decided by someone other than the assessor. It's a complicated matrix
I think the assessor is probably the most qualified. They're the ones who determine
to
value.
determine major public benefit and moderate educational value.
I think they have the best idea of value in general and reasons for value. They have actually formalized training and requirements, whereas most people around here are gonna be like, that's my neighbor, I like them, or I don't like them, right? I hate to say it that way, but that's how a lot of things around here go. I want to try to make this as professional as possible if we're going to implement it.
So someone who's selling vegetables out of his barn,
It's
is
agriculture.
that that's agricultural,
That's
right?
agriculture.
That's agricultural. Yeah.
Okay, what if he's restoring old cars in his barn?
It's not.
That's not, but if we do away with the commercial part, it doesn't matter.
Right.
I mean, and if you're doing it for yourself, you're not a commercial enterprise. You just be happy.
Dan Regan, just a couple of comments. One, I completely support what Kate's saying. I love financial analysis and I'm kind of a nut for it. So I think that's the responsible thing to do. The second is a 30,000-foot question I think the select board has to address, which is the tax benefit based on the structure as it currently exists? Or is the tax benefit on the new value created once the barn has been refurbished?
Let me just
Finish up 1 second. If it is on the refurbished value, there's really no taxes that are lost. If it's on everybody that currently has a barn applies for this and they get a deferment, then yeah, there's a significant tax.
Yeah, if it's like a cap and,
Like the TIF, right?
right, the tip,
I
exactly.
was to say, state law says it's on the entire value of the barn.
Okay,
It's not on the difference. And that's written straight into the law, that it's the entire value. I think I highlighted that for you guys.
The difference would only come to play if at the renewal, and this has to be renewed every 10 years.
Mhm.
That would only come to play at reassessment, townwide reassessment time. So it would get reassessed at the improved value. And that's the amount that would have to be abated at that time.
No, it's based off the entire value.
Which is based on,
Based on, I mean, the improvement will increase the assessment. but
That's right.
it's Still based on the entire assessment, not the improved
The
value.
assessment value still
Right,
goes to
but
zero.
the assessment value would go to zero if it's accepted, but they have to renew every 10 years.
You know, a lot of the other 79 79B, 79E are based on the value difference,
Mhm.
but this one strictly says in their entire value.
Yeah.
So. Or entire might not be the word, but that's what it means.
Mhm. And is 10 years, because I don't remember what I read in the law, is 10 years standard or is it 10 years the number we picked?
No, most of that's straight out.
That's the RSA.
Okay. It's a long-term commitment. I'm just thinking about other, RSAs we've adopted, like in the community business district where we have folks who've tried to take advantage, like they put a new roof on, right, and they do improvements. And we still get a good amount of money coming in. But then, that lapses within like 5 years. So this is a lot, this potentially is a lot of money. I love barns, you guys. Like, I'm a big sucker for barns, so it's not, I like emotionally really love this, but I just, from a fiscal standpoint, it just makes me incredibly nervous. And I think we really have heard from our voters in the last, especially with two large building projects stacked one on top
Well,
of another. It's very hard.
I hate to say this, but
We should move on.
your most cogent argument perhaps is the money we've spent over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And if we were to do this 2 years from now, it might be a whole different story.
Mhm.
I mean, you could say that's not fair, but yes.
There's a
Dan?
loophole here too. My loophole is I put $5,000 into my barn.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna get a complete abatement for the entire barn
Mhm.
and property.
There's actually nothing that says renovation, it's preservation.
That's what I'm
You
saying.
just have to go put an easement over your barn that you'll
Yeah.
preserve it, you don't have to do any work to it.
Well, that's what I mean. So I'm gonna get,
Oh.
I haven't done anything.
Oh,
And if
my.
it falls down in 20 years, that's all means. Okay, I got 20 years and I didn't pay for anything.
That's right.
Well, you have to have a plan, but it's gonna be harder to administer that if it's not visibly falling down or something
Right,
like that.
but that's what I'm saying is you're basically saying, you're not saying people have to, the preservation is it's sitting there. And you're saying because the barn is sitting there, I'm gonna abate all your taxes. On the building and the land under the building.
My heart belongs to the barns.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There's so many barns that I used to bicycle by as a kid, and they're just not there anymore. Some have been torn down for housing, some burned down,
Yeah.
some fell down.
Yeah.
There's one on George Hill that is in the process of collapsing.
Yeah.
Falling down.
But I have to agree with, I think, what's been said so far about fiscal responsibilities, given the time period we're in right now.
And I guess I feel that if we are armed with a good amount of education and we want to put this in front of the voters, I'm not opposed to it. Like, if we have our data points and we are able to answer reasonable questions, I don't have a problem putting it in front of them and accepting and getting their feedback. I'm definitely not against putting it in front of them. I just want to be prepared to answer these questions in a reasonable way.
Tough to put in front of the voters if we are not solidly behind it. I think it's the kind of thing that won't fly unless we're supporting it. And I'm not just ready to support it right now at this time this
Yeah.
year. That's all I can say.
So, and this came in front of you to review this, to see if we wanted to move
Yeah.
forward in any way. Some of these data points and things will take a lot of staff time to put together.
Right, and that's another thing we're short on this year.
You know,
So, yes, Shirley,
I think it would be a good idea to see how many barns would be eligible at 75. I don't consider 75 old for a building myself. I would think there'd be a lot of eligible buildings.
yeah, I'm not even gonna
Wait,
talk
we might
about
be
the number
talking about-
75.
we might be talking about 50, we have, honestly, right now. That's where I guess
Yeah.
I'm stuck, like,
Yeah.
Okay,
maybe we find out it's really easy and it's 10.
I
And
would,
that makes the decision a lot easier.
I'm gonna recommend we table this, kick this can down the road. And if someone wants to bring it up next year, we can talk about it next year or the year after. But this is
We'll
not,
put a little work into it. but-
That's
okay, but not too much work. Because there's a lot to be done this year, I suspect. Okay, well, I thank everyone's patience. 2026 budget priorities.
Can I start?
Yes, please.
I want to prioritize safety, fiscal responsibility, and staff retention. Those are my threes. Way to go for the. They can
Safe-
work together.
Safety, staff retention, what was the other one?
Fiscal responsibility.
And the tax base.
That might be part of fiscal responsibility. I am not outlining all of the pieces. I am making it so that those are kind of my personal priorities.
Mhm. Now, can you talk to us about safety a little bit?
So since I come kind of more from a manufacturing background, you always start at safety. If you can't keep people in your realm safe, there's no point in doing any other work. That's where I come at it. So it's just really based, like, not saying we need to do more work in a certain area, but like, are we funding operations and are we filling staffing levels and setting staffing expectations such that we can keep people in our town safe? Right, just basics, we have a lot going on in terms of looking at, things like stormwater management, right? That's part of safety. So I don't think it's just public safety, but just making sure that we're making good decisions, whether it's funding DPW appropriately so that they are out during the storms when needed, or laying down a material that, say the material's a little more expensive, but it holds better during these large storm events. Just taking that safety lens to a wide variety of things, not just public safety.
Would you be averse to saying health and safety?
Sure. I'm good with health and safety.
I like staff reduction.
Retention even.
I mean, oh,
Cause that could get really.
all right, there we go.
That's it. John's done.
I'm done. I'm toast.
That's okay.
Stay-
It happens to all of us.
Staff retention. I think that there are dangers, when staff hear people talking about, wow, we pay a lot of money for staff and they're making more money than I am. People say those things, right?
Yeah.
And that's such a nonsense. And then you try to explain, if we had to replace them, where would we be?
Yeah. Well, I think, I'm not saying last year we didn't try to make decisions with an eye on staff retention. I think we did. I think some of the things that we did, like the health insurance, didn't do us any favors. Like, it might have been a good idea to try to strike a balance between fiscal responsibility and staff retention and being able to afford pay increases maybe, but the outcome didn't go maybe as well as one have approached, and we definitely lost staff. And that is expensive because we sit here, especially for poor DPW, who's constantly having to retrain people right now.
And retraining people is enormously expensive. Maybe part of it is a communication issue. I don't know.
I feel like if you take a step back from that, there's it's all of these individual pieces together that I
Yeah.
can be summarized by how can we make Enfield a great place to work?
Yeah.
So it isn't just the salary. It's God, why would you leave working for Enfield? That's the kind of place that I would like to be.
Good point.
Because a certain amount of flexibility in salary and benefits is replaced with being a good employer and being a good place that has good morale and good leaders. It's not all of it, but it's hard to leave when you have a really good boss and they're only offering you a little salary bump. If they're offering you a significant salary bump, maybe you consider it. We know that's been a challenge, but if you're feeling a little down about how things went for you, you might be more likely to take a small amount. And not everybody's able to calculate the total cost when they move, right? They're like, I get more in my paycheck next week. They aren't like, oh, but I have to pay an extra $10,000 for my insurance. So it's like, and some people don't care, especially I think younger generations. I'm gonna just pick on because I've been there myself. When you're younger, you're typically often healthier and you don't spend a lot of time thinking about like, I need this really great health insurance policy. As you age and as you grow maybe a family, it gets more and more important. So, and I think like tonight we saw 3 long-term officers because chief is a long-term employee too. And how important that is for morale and how we train people and how we carry out the legacy of community policing in Enfield. So, yeah.
I think your point is well taken, that as an overview, we have to look at the strength of the town and maintaining a strong community. And that the subset of that is exactly what Kate pointed out, health and safety, staff retention and fiscal responsibility. But it falls under the broad swath of maintaining a strong and healthy community.
And then I guess my other one is across this matrix of all the things that we prioritize, we should be overlaying every time we do this activity, our strategic goals. So anything that we've outlined in our strategy previously, we should be asking like, does this meet our strategy requirements? Are we adding a new program that's outside of our strategy? If so, why? Not just can we afford it, but why? Like, why are we trying to add something or do an activity outside of our larger activities that because we're a small town running on, it feels like a lot of money when you look at the big number, but when you look at how careful people are within their budgets, it's not a lot of money and we definitely don't have a lot of staff time to expend. So I want to ruthlessly prioritize what we are looking at and why.
Just so you guys know, I do want to do an update on our strategic plan and strategic goals. I built a slideshow for you that I was gonna start this meeting, but it's well over 50 slides and I want to try to whittle that down somehow. I was gonna go through every strategic.
Take a big knife.
And which ones we cut and which ones we didn't. I think I'm gonna try to generalize those a lot more and then use the meeting time to talk about the goals that either we didn't get to in 24, because I think we were a little overzealous with the first year. But we did a pretty good job, and then where we want to go from here to make sure we strategically prioritize what we have left in our plan.
Everyone here is an ambitious person who has, I think, big, very sincere goals, and that's just always a danger. Maybe we do just say aligns with strategic goals as one of our priorities and then call it that so that we're just keeping it in our.
Well, I think we did a good job and I actually thought it when we first did it, but I let staff and stuff continue to move, but like half of our strategic plan was in 2024 and the other 3 years broke up the other half. And I thought it was a little ambitious then, but we actually did a really good job of getting most of them. So I think we can push a few things, reorganize a little bit and move on to a couple other things that we need to do, but.
Yeah, when I was thinking about it, I don't really have anything new to add, so that might be nice to hear. I think the sidewalks project is not complete.
Well, the sidewalks we had budgeted are complete.
Right. I think,
So,
but there's like other.
The main thing
areas.
coming out of our strategic goals was more ulterior transportation planning and what we would like to do. And, are there places we want to add sidewalks? Maybe remove sidewalks, look at different ways of putting in some bike lanes, different things like that. So, those are definitely coming up, but I think we're moving to a place in our strategic plan, which is good because of the budgets we've had the last few years of a lot more planning before implementation over the next couple of years. So we'll be looking at those moving forward. We hadn't come into this meeting, but I did ask staff to kind of toe the line. Let's not add a bunch of projects this year. Let's, you know, let's present a budget to keep the services that we plan on having, that we've been providing, and then what we need to do to provide those. I'm sure there'll be places that are a little more expensive and hopefully a little places that are a little less expensive moving forward, but so that's kind of where I set those. I like to hear these things. So as I'm making decisions, I can look at some of the things coming across my desk of what people want to do.
And traffic calming on 4.
I think we had some really good strategy, like talks about the different types of that were like deeper issue, like the actual issues. And then I think the broader goals were ones we picked, like establishing the emergency services committee and having them do that work. And that work is, it's concluded in terms of they've given us a presentation, you're starting to implement it, and you have monitoring expectations in place. So I think those are really good. But then the individual like drill down action items.
That's
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have anything new. Like, I think the broad strokes are still good and the tactics are still in process. I don't have a ton
Yep.
to add at this time.
So I'll bring those down. So we're not looking at every single strategic goal, and I'll try to lump them into, like you said, we did complete the public safety committee. We got their recommendation. We've moved on a few of those recommendations, and this is what we plan to do.
Is parking important enough to have a category of its own?
In our strategic plan, I don't think so, but we should lump it in with, at least with one we've done under safety and under, we have some on transportation and those types of things around downtown. It could definitely be looked at. And then as our downtown continues to grow, when we revisit our strategic plan more formally in a couple of years, it may be something that we want it in there, or maybe it's something we don't.
Other comments, thoughts? Proposed planning committee for America's 250th celebration in Enfield.
I was wondering when they were gonna ask.
Well, I'll jump in for a minute. I didn't put my own memo in here, but I think it's a good idea to get involved in this. Personally, don't know if it needs to be a formal town committee that needs to follow RSA 91, but that would be the select board's decision. Many of us got invitations to join with some of the planning that they're doing at the Shaker Museum in those areas. I did. So he kind of volunteered, and I assigned our rec director to attend those meetings on behalf of staff in the town. I do think it would be good to have some other committee members and people involved in that planning process, but I don't know that we need to duplicate it too much.
It says, Old Home Days Committee said that they voted to combine the events next year and include that as part of Old Home Days, so it seems like we already have a committee that's committed to working on that.
And I think Heritage and Old Home Days could choose at any point to meet at the same time. And then if they have volunteers, especially if they have volunteers who are separate from the committee who form some kind of, volunteer group, then the goal is not to undermine public trust, I should say that, but to be able to actually just work, to be like, we really want this to be our logo. Like, I don't think you need that and have to have a set of minutes. You could make a recommendation to a formal committee from a set of volunteers without having to, if they really want to go through the process of having a minute taker and doing minutes, yes, but I worry that adds an extra layer where we have a lot of really smart, really talented people who put on these events who aren't necessarily on a committee or don't have to be on a committee, who can do good work and they can work faster and more efficiently without having to have it be like open meeting.
Does the rec director have any particular experience with this kind of work?
They're in charge of putting on the events for the town that are town sponsored. So I think working with committees like this and being able to come back to myself or others and say, here's how we might be able to help with this it's good to have someone from staff that sits in on that, and that would be the right person from our staff to sit in.
I mean, I would say the two commission and the committee should have at it and a format that suits them. I do wonder just from a budgetary standpoint, I know especially Old Home Days does a phenomenal job fundraising, but something like this might take a little bit of advertising. I don't know how big you want to do it. So just like from a budgetary standpoint, asking the question, should we be setting up front? I'm going to pick a random number of $500 to get them started. Where you might be expending money before you start taking in money. So that might be, I'm more interested in that, like how we deal with the budget side of it than telling them how to do their job. Because I have never seen this group of people do a bad job putting an event on. I have absolute faith that they'll do a nice job and they'll do it from a place that's really nice, that respects Enfield and our heritage.
John, there's a raised hand on them.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a raised hand on.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't really see.
Bridget Labrie.
Bridget, you have your hand up?
I was just gonna ask, because I recently was listening to a conversation around a group that is not town-based, and if there are other groups, since the town is a good local source and people go there for information, especially recreation, if there's some kind of notice or communication that can go out, if, like you said, there are volunteers, but if there are groups who are looking to do and contribute or want to create something for the 250th, more just trying to encourage collaboration, because I feel like there's lots of ideas forming and people are not fully aware that maybe the town has something or there's another group that's already kind of working with the town to do so. So that was just, I was going to toss that out there if we want to get the word out sooner to try to not create or stop the duplicate that might already be being thought of.
Yeah, the alternative is it could be a little like what Eva does with Hometown Holidays, where there's a nice schedule of events that list. And I know to a certain extent, Old Home Days does the same thing. There are a lot of organizations who chip in. So I think there's a huge opportunity for synergies here. I will say the reason I wondered when we were going to be asked was that I was in Massachusetts recently, and some towns are already putting up sponsorship banners that say America's 250th birthday, and they have corporate sponsors. I'm not saying we have to do this, but they're collecting money that way already. So enabling them, giving them a blessing and being like, we know you can do it, go forth and multiply, I think that would be my.
I'm gonna have to give them a budget.
I mean, they won't get a budget till the,
Next year.
yeah, for next year.
But if they need a little bit of money now to get something started, they can come see me.
Okay.
Or talk through Todd and he would come see me as well.
Cause something like that banner idea takes a little bit of upstart money, but obviously you get it back pretty quickly. Do you need a motion or you just wanna say?
Yeah, is there like an action item to bring?
Or can we just say?
Depends what you guys want to do and.
Yeah, I mean, do we want
I don't think we need
do
it.
we want to request Heritage and the Old Home Days Committee take on this task
Yeah, spearhead it together.
and spearhead it together? And,
Let them form a hybrid committee and
well, then if they, I mean,
proceed.
and if they say no, they've got to do some, then we can think about other paths, but I think that's the best path.
Yeah. I agree. I think between the good heads that are already there, they can work out a process where perhaps some of them participate. They don't necessarily need all of them if they don't want to, but they will form a hybrid type of committee between the two committees and they will
They're getting a hybrid
proceed.
and they're getting Alice. Did you see how Alice got individually named here?
I think it was a big.
Saw that.
It is, they like you.
I feel like this is not in my packet.
Shirley, Shirley, you've been involved in this sort of thing for a while. Do you have any thoughts? Recommendations?
Chances of Shirley needing to participate, very high. Chances of Shirley fundraising, higher.
So you think the two committee idea is good?
Yes, because I think that committee really blends
Yeah.
with both of them too.
I think it's good and I'll have a rec director work with them.
Right,
Make
yes.
sure that we have a direct contact for
Yeah,
Right, exactly.
I think that's. a
budgeting
good
type
idea.
thing, Candace.
But it does make me a little nervous.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think the rec director could do, that we do with other committees, is if something needs to get posted, right, like to Facebook, like making sure that they know the appropriate avenue on how to get that work done. So it's always good to have a staff contact to just educate people, especially if someone new is doing the, like, hey, I made this graphic, where does it go?
No, and it's also good to have someone, if they bring up an idea that, oh, you know, we really should let DPW know about that, or someone else.
yeah.
It's a great communication tool to get the right people involved at the right time.
Good call.
And our last, business item is Old Home Days Committee application from Celia Piero.
Do we have spaces, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Yay, great. I make the motion that we appoint Celia Piero to the Enfield Old Home Days Committee. And would just separately add that she did a lot of work for them this year already.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. Next up, other business to come before the board, public comments. Sir,
I want to follow up on Kate's priorities for the budget. Being on the budget committee, and last year, members of this committee tasked the budget committee with coming up with a, I may not have quite the right wording, but you can check the minutes if you want to, of a conservative budget. And another member mentioned the CPI, which at that point was then looking up to 2.5 or 4%. And we ended up with a greater than 10% tax impact increase. And I think the direction from this committee board to both the CIP and the budget committee would be really helpful to have some numbers attached to what your goals are when you say fiscal responsibility.
good discussion between the board and the budget committee.
And I think last year we had two somewhat unique things, which is that we had a bond phase in, which would be separate from your standard budget. And we also had the fact that we had used the undesignated fund to pay down, which we knew it isn't just, it gets you back once, it gets you back twice. And we've discussed that extensively. So while the percentage quoted may be what someone feels that it is, the percentage of items that were standard items that weren't related to that was very, very slim. So I think setting a percentage and just hoping it works out doesn't take into account all of the moving parts. Now, we've been paying on both bonds now, right? So we're not gonna have that, and we didn't take a bunch of money to pay down taxes. So I would think we're going to end up with a lot more friendly final number. And we knew that when we did it, and we said that was the danger, and that's why Dan voted against it.
Speaking budget, I think it's going to be interesting to see the difference between the default and the proposed budget. Because the default's going to say, this is where you were with everything already there, including all the capital stuff, to see the difference. Because if there's large differences there, you make it a default. So you got to think about that going in. And my other one is a comment that probably people aren't going to like, but I'll make it anyways. I hope the 250 is more a celebration and less a heritage. I've done 5 old homes this year, 5 different towns. And I saw a great one out in Canaan because it had massive participation. When I say massive participation, I mean, probably 4,000 people at the parade.
Their parade is huge.
They do it because they also get the businesses into it.
Yep.
And that's a big piece of it, is they do things that people are going to come to.
And when you get those people downtown for the parade, they
Right.
stay for other
They
activities.
stay for other.
And there's a little
They
bit
stay
of,
for
oh, so-and-so's in the
the
parade, are you gonna go see them?
Derby, or they stay for the Power Star competition. Yeah, the sander, you know,
I mean,
and people are there all day.
Mhm.
And they're in a compact area.
It's really
That's the big piece is,
the
you
same.
gotta keep people in the same place.
Mhm.
I mean, it's like the Enfield 251 was great, because
Mhm.
everybody got together on a Friday night. And it had nothing to do with heritage of Enfield, it had to do with celebrating.
Mm.
I think we need to keep that in mind.
I don't know what our traffic in town was like on Old Home Days, but it was, where I was, it was absolutely mobbed. And when the people came into the market, I was at Pellerin.
Right.
I was mobbed and they had, a bunch of people had just been at the Lutheran church and they were like,
Yeah.
it's mobbed there. And I think that's the kind, I am like, I want to celebrate, but I also do want them to leave a little money in Enfield. We won't shake you down. I want you to celebrate, but it wouldn't hurt if you invested in some local businesses.
The town-wide
Mhm.
yard sale
Is huge.
brought the people in.
I know, I was like, why
Oh,
are
yeah.
these people on my road? And then I remembered I made the map.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was very crabby about driving around them, and then I realized I did it to myself.
The town-wide yard sale has nothing to do with heritage.
No.
It has to do with getting people into town.
You want a motion?
Motion,
I make a motion to adjourn. And
second.
if you have anything you want to
Second.
sign, now's the time to
There's a
send it.
motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Dan.
Dan.
Ah.
Yeah.